So here's the thing about the Galactic Council. They're obsessed with hierarchy. Like, really obsessed. We're talking about a collection of alien species so concerned with pecking order that they created an entire annual event just to figure out who gets to sit closest to the snack table during diplomatic functions. Welcome to the Apex Predator Showcase, the galaxy's most testosterone-fueled well. Whatever passes for testosterone in methane breathers and sentient crystals event of the cycle. Picture this. A massive convention hall on Station Omega-7, decorated like someone's idea of a gladiatorial arena, mixed with a corporate conference room. Floating holographic banners. Ominous mood lighting. The works. Every species brings their scariest, most dangerous, most nightmare-inducing creature to prove they're not to be messed with. It's basically a cosmic measuring contest, but with more teeth and venom. Admiral Kretch scuttled in first, his chitinous armor gleaming under the station lights. He was a Vexorian, which meant he looked like someone had taken a praying mantis, given it anger management issues, and scaled it up to 7 feet tall. Behind him, in a reinforced titanium cage, something snarled and threw itself against the bars hard enough to dent them. Behold, Kretch clicked his mandibles proudly. The Kretchian battlehound, apex predator of 7 worlds. Chancellor Vormp oozed forward next. And I do mean oozed. The Blabothian dignitary was basically a sentient pile of purple jelly in a diplomatic sash, which somehow made him more unsettling. His containment unit held something that looked like a snake made of living acid. Then there was Captain Zarn, a reptarian hunter with scales like gunmetal and eyes like a shark that had seen some things. His creature, well, let's just say it had too many limbs and all of them ended in claws. The various aliens postured and preened, sizing each other up, making threatening diplomatic small talk. You know, the as usual. And then I walked in. Commander Rebecca Holloway, United Earth Defense Force, but everyone calls me Bex. I was wearing my dress uniform, carrying a small plastic pet carrier with ventilation holes, and internally laughing my ass off at what was about to happen. Every alien eye, stalk, sensor array, and whatever counted as vision organs turned toward me in my distinctly unimpressive container. Ah, Vormp burbled, his gelatinous form rippling with what I'd learned to recognize as curiosity. The human representative, we are most eager to see Earth's apex predator. Your species has quite the reputation for violence. Yeah, I said, setting down the carrier on the presentation platform. We get that a lot. Admiral Kretch leaned forward, antennae twitching. Your planet is classified as a death world. Excessive gravity, extreme weather patterns, atmospheric oxygen levels that would combust most civilized species. Surely your apex predator is suitably terrifying? I smiled. Oh, he's something all right. The carrier made a sound. Not a roar, not a growl, a yawn, a very long, very disinterested yawn. Shall we begin? I asked, reaching for the carrier latch. This was going to be good. Before I could open the carrier, Admiral Kretch insisted on going first. Of course he did. The Vexorians don't do anything without maximum dramatic flair. 2 of his subordinates wheeled out the battlehound's cage. The thing inside was the size of a small shuttle, covered in scales that looked like they could deflect plasma fire, and had a mouth that opened in 3 directions. 3. Because apparently, evolution on Vexoria looked at normal predators and said, "Not scary enough." The battlehound roared, and I'm pretty sure a few of the lighting fixtures cracked. The assembled diplomats stepped back, appropriately intimidated. 600 kills in the arena, Kretch announced. Bite force of 12,000 psi, venomous saliva, armored hide, fear incarnate. Very impressive, I said, meaning absolutely none of it. Chancellor Vormp went next. His slime serpent was this translucent, oozing thing that apparently dissolved its prey from the inside out while they were still conscious. He described this process in detail. Way too much detail. I made a mental note to skip lunch. Captain Zarn's contribution was called a razor-wing stalker, which was basically a 6-legged panther with wings, bladed tail, and the ability to turn partially invisible. It had been the undisputed champion of the showcase for 3 cycles running. Your turn, human, Zarn hissed, his forked tongue flickering with anticipation. Show us what Earth's death world has forged. The entire hall went quiet. Even the monsters stopped snarling for a moment. I bent down and unlatched the carrier. Come on out, mister. Whiskers. Nothing happened. Because of course nothing happened. You can't make a cat do anything. I sighed, reached in, and pulled out 16 pounds of orange tabby cat. He was round. Not muscular round, fat round. His belly swung when I set him on the platform. He had white paws, a pink nose, and eyes that suggested he'd rather be literally anywhere else. The silence was deafening. "This," Admiral Kretsch said slowly, "is a joke. I assure you, it's not. That is a domesticated companion animal." Vorm burbled indignantly. "We asked for apex predators, not pets." Mr. Whiskers yawned again, showing off his tiny fangs and pink tongue. Then he sat down right there on the platform and began grooming his paw with all the urgency of someone waiting for paint to dry. "This is an insult," Zarn growled. "Your species mocks the Galactic Council." "Look," I said, crossing my arms. "You asked for our apex predator. This is him. Not my fault you made assumptions. That creature weighs perhaps 7 kilograms. Kretsch clicked angrily. "My battlehound could swallow it whole." "Could he, though?" I asked. Mr. Whiskers, displaying the impeccable timing that cats are famous for, stopped mid-lick. He slowly turned his head toward the assembled cages of nightmare creatures. Then he did something I'd never be able to adequately explain to the Alien Council. He started licking his own butt. Right there, on the presentation platform, in front of the entire Galactic Council. One leg straight up in the air, tongue working away, giving exactly 0 damns about the diplomatic incident he was creating. Admiral Kretsch's antennae quivered with rage. "This is unacceptable." "Hey, you wanted to see Earth's apex predator," I said, trying not to laugh. "I'm just following protocol." "Mr." Whiskers finished his grooming session, gave himself a little shake, and then hopped down from the platform. He padded directly toward the cages, and that's when things got interesting. The first thing Mr. Whiskers did was walk directly up to the battlehound's reinforced cage, like he was approaching a mildly interesting houseplant. The battlehound, 600 confirmed kills, apex predator of 7 worlds, took one look at the cat and went absolutely silent. "See?" Kretsch gestured triumphantly. "It recognizes a superior predator. It goes quiet before the kill." "Uh-huh," I said. "Sure, that's definitely what's happening." Mr. Whiskers sat down about 2 feet from the cage. He didn't hiss, didn't arch his back, didn't puff up. He just stared at the battlehound with that dead-eyed, soul-piercing stare that cats have perfected over thousands of years of psychological warfare. You know the look. The one that says, "I see you. I judge you. You are found wanting." The battlehound whimpered. I'm not joking. This creature that had allegedly killed a Thoraxian war chief in single combat made a sound like a kicked puppy and pressed itself against the back of its cage. "What is happening?" Kretsch demanded, his mandibles clicking in confusion. "Cat's happening," I said simply. Mr. Whiskers, satisfied with his victory, stood up and stretched. Full cat stretch, front, legs extended, butt in the air, tail quivering. Then he sauntered over to the slime serpent's containment unit. The serpent, which according to Vormp had dissolved 43 sentient beings, took one look at Mr. Whiskers and retreated to the far corner of its tank. "Impossible," Vormp burbled. "My serpent fears nothing. It is biologically incapable of fear." "Apparently it's biologically capable of recognizing a cat," I observed. Mr. Whiskers made a little chirping sound, you know, that weird chattering noise cats make, and tapped his paw against the glass. The slime serpent flinched. Captain Zarn was not amused. "This is absurd. My razor-wing stalker is a perfect killing machine. It will not be intimidated by this tiny furball." Famous last words, honestly. The razor-wing stalker was on a reinforced perch behind energy bars. It was magnificent in a terrifying way, all muscle and blades and predatory grace. Mr. Whiskers approached, and the stalker's eyes tracked him with laser focus. Then Mr. Whiskers did the thing, the slow blink. That languid, dismissive closing of the eyes that communicates pure indifference mixed with subtle contempt. The razor-wing stalker's pupils dilated, its wings tucked tight against its body. And then, I swear on my commission, it turned its back on Mr. Whiskers and pretended to be intensely interested in the corner of its enclosure. "Your champion just submitted," I pointed out helpfully. Zarn's scales flushed a darker color, which I'd learned meant he was either angry or embarrassed. Probably both. But Mr. Whiskers wasn't done. Oh no. He'd decided this entire summit hall was now his territory, and he was going to mark it as such. He rubbed his face against the corner of Kretsch's cage, walked the length of Vormp's containment unit, tail high, found a priceless Andromedan meditation crystal on a display pedestal, and immediately tried to knock it off. "No!" Several diplomats shouted at once. Mr. Whiskers paused, looked directly at them, and then slowly, deliberately, pushed the crystal closer to the edge. "Mr. Whiskers," I said in my warning voice. He locked eyes with me for a long moment. Then he pushed the crystal just a millimeter more before hopping down and walking away, leaving it teetering on the brink. Power move. Pure power move. The alien apex predators remained suspiciously quiet in their cages. Even the ones that had been roaring and snarling earlier were now subdued, watching the orange tabby claim their space like some kind of furry Julius Caesar. Admiral Kretsch's antennae drooped. I do not understand what is occurring. Yeah, I said, grinning now. That's kind of the whole problem, isn't it? Captain Zarn had had enough. His scales were practically vibrating with indignation, and his clawed hand slammed down on the podium hard enough to leave gouges in the metal. Explain, he demanded, his voice dropping to a dangerous hiss. Explain how this ridiculous creature has cowed the finest predators in the known galaxy. There must be some trick, some hidden weapon. A pheromone emitter, subsonic frequencies, psychic manipulation. I looked at Mr. Whiskers, who had found a sunbeam coming through the station's viewport and was now lying in it, belly exposed, looking like the least threatening thing in the universe. He was purring. You could hear it across the hall, this rumbling sound like a tiny, broken engine. You want the truth? I asked. The actual truth? Yes, Vormp burbled, his gelatinous mass quivering with scientific curiosity. We must understand this phenomenon. Okay, but you're not going to like it. I walked over to the presentation console and pulled up a holographic display of Earth. So, Earth. Death world. You all know the stats. High gravity, aggressive megafauna, weather systems that regularly try to kill everything. The works. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. We literally chased our prey until it died of exhaustion. We're apex predators in our own right. Yes, Kretsch clicked impatiently. We are aware of humanity's disturbing biology. Get to the point. I'm getting there. See, humans did something unusual. We looked at various predators on our planet and decided, hey, let's befriend those. We domesticated wolves into dogs. We tamed horses. We kept birds of prey for hunting. Standard stuff, really. I zoomed in on the hologram, showing a small, wildcat ancestor. And then we met these guys. Felis catus, the common cat. Small obligate carnivores. Excellent hunters of rodents. We figured, sure, we'll domesticate them to protect our grain stores. Seemed like a mutual arrangement. So, they are servants, Zarn said. Trained animals. Oh no, I laughed. No, see, that's where you're wrong. We didn't domesticate cats. Cats domesticated us. The assembled aliens exchanged confused looks. Well, the ones with faces did. Vormp just sort of rippled uncertainly. Explain, Kretsch demanded. Cats, I continued, are the only species on Earth that domesticated themselves. They essentially looked at human civilization and went, yeah, this works for me, and just moved in. We didn't breed them for specific traits like we did with dogs. They chose us. And here's where it gets really interesting. I pulled up a molecular diagram. Cats carry a parasite called Toxoplasma gondii. About 1/3 of humans are infected with it. It literally changes our brain chemistry to make us more affectionate toward cats. We are, in a very real sense, under feline mind control, and we just let it happen. The silence in the hall was profound. You are compromised by a parasitic organism? Vormp asked slowly. And you brought your compromised specimen here? To a Galactic Council facility? Oh, it gets better, I said, really warming to my subject now. Cats don't need us for survival anymore. We feed them, we shelter them, we provide medical care. We invented an entire industry around their comfort and entertainment. And what do they do in return? Mr. Whiskers chose that exact moment to hack up a hairball onto the polished conference floor. They do that, I said, gesturing at the small, wet mess. They knock things off tables. They wake us up at 3 a.m. demanding food. They ignore us when we call them. They shred our furniture. They bring us dead animals as gifts we don't want. And we love them for it. This is madness, Zarn whispered. Oh, you think that's mad? Let me tell you about cat behavior. They have this thing called the slow blink. You saw it earlier. It's a sign of trust and affection. Mr. Whiskers just told your champion Razorwing Stalker that he was so utterly unthreatening that he could literally close his eyes in his presence. It's the ultimate dismissal. I pointed at the battlehound, still pressed against the back of its cage. And that stare? Cats are ambush predators. That unblinking stare is what they do right before they pounce. Every predator instinct in your battlehound's brain is screaming danger. It doesn't matter that Mr. Whiskers weighs 7 kilograms. His body language is pure predator, and every animal in this room knows it. Chancellor Vormp's mass was turning a paler shade of purple. But surely your species recognizes the strategic disadvantage of being controlled by a smaller organism? Oh, we know, I said cheerfully. We make jokes about it constantly. The internet that's our global information network is approximately 40% cat videos. We built a digital infrastructure that spans our entire planet, and we use it primarily to share images of cats doing stupid things. We're completely aware of the situation, and we don't care. Why? Kretsch's voice was barely a whisper. I looked at Mr. Whiskers, who had rolled over and was now stretching his paws out, making little biscuits in the air at nothing in particular. His eyes were half closed in contentment, and his purr had somehow gotten even louder. Because look at him, I said simply. Look at that ridiculous face, those stupid little toe beans, that absolute disrespect for authority. Cats figured out that the apex predator of Earth humans has one critical weakness. We think small, fluffy things are cute. They weaponized adorability. They combined it with strategic indifference, occasional affection on their terms, and just enough predatory behavior to keep it interesting. They hacked our psychology. As if on cue, Mr. Whiskers rolled onto his back and meowed. Not a threatening sound. Just a little chirp that roughly translated to, I exist, and you should be aware of this. 3 of the assembled diplomats made sounds that I can only describe as existentially distressed cooing. Oh no, I said, watching their reactions. Oh no, you're already falling for it. That's how it starts. Admiral Kretsch straightened, fighting visibly to maintain his composure. We are trained diplomats and warriors. We will not succumb to Mr. Whiskers. Stretched one paw out and flexed his toes, making his claws extend and retract. Extend and retract. Kretsch's antennae quivered. Why is it doing that? We call it making biscuits. Nobody knows why. It's left over from kitten behavior. It's completely non-threatening and serves no purpose. It is very effective, Vormp admitted quietly. Yeah, I said. Yeah, it really is. Mr. Whiskers had apparently decided that the presentation phase of the evening was over, and it was time for the main event. He stood up from his sunbeam, gave himself a little shake, and looked around the summit hall with the calculating gaze of a tiny, furry tyrant surveying his domain. At the far end of the hall sat the ceremonial throne, and I do mean throne. The Galactic Council didn't do anything halfway. This thing was carved from a single piece of crystalline nebula stone, worth more than most planetary economies, embedded with gems from a dozen worlds. It was where the winner of the Apex Predator Showcase traditionally sat during the closing ceremony, receiving the acknowledgement of all assembled species. It was approximately 15 feet away from Mr. Whiskers. I saw his eyes lock onto it, and I knew exactly what was about to happen. Oh no, I muttered. What is the problem? Zarn asked, his tone still defensive but significantly less confident than it had been 20 minutes ago. He's seen the throne. So? It is merely a ceremonial seat. The creature cannot possibly understand its significance. I didn't even bother responding to that. Mr. Whiskers was already on the move. He didn't run. Cats don't run toward things they want that would suggest desperation, or worse, enthusiasm. No, Mr. Whiskers walked with the slow, deliberate pace of someone who knew that time itself would wait for him to arrive. He reached the base of the throne platform, looked up at the 3-foot height, and then did a little butt wiggle that I recognized immediately. He's going to jump, I announced. Surely not, Vormp burbled. That is the supreme apex seat. It is reserved for the champion. It is... Mr. Whiskers launched himself upward with surprising grace for a cat of his substantial girth. He landed on the throne with a soft thump, his claws clicking against the nebula stone. Every alien in the hall gasped. Some noise equivalent of a gasp anyway. Remove it immediately, Admiral Kretsch demanded. This is a violation of protocol. A desecration of Mr. Whiskers began circling. Once, twice, 3 times. The ancient ritual of the cat, preparing its sleeping spot, unchanged for millennia, now being performed on the most sacred seat in the Galactic Council. And then he sat down, not curled up, not tucked in, he loafed. You know the position, paws tucked under the body, tail wrapped around, forming a perfect cat-shaped bread loaf. He closed his eyes. Within 30 seconds, he was asleep. The purring echoed through the hall like a small diesel engine. This is unacceptable, Kretsch announced, his mandibles clicking rapidly. I will remove the creature myself. I wouldn't, I said, but he was already moving. Admiral Kretsch was a decorated warrior. He had fought in 3 major campaigns, received commendations for bravery, and commanded the respect of his entire species. He approached the throne with military precision, reaching out with one chitinous claw to lift Mr. Whiskers from the seat. Mr. Whiskers opened one eye. Just one. He didn't hiss, didn't swipe, didn't do anything overtly aggressive. He simply looked at Admiral Kretsch with an expression that somehow managed to communicate utter contempt, profound disappointment, and the promise of future retribution all at once. Kretsch's claw hovered in the air for a long moment. Then he withdrew it. He clicked uncertainly. Perhaps the creature is comfortable. Did that cat just make you back down? Captain Zarn asked incredulously. It seemed unwise to disturb it. Kretsch said defensively, returning to his position. Strategic retreat, not fear. Sure, I said. Mr. Whiskers closed his eye again and shifted slightly, getting more comfortable. A small fragment of nebula stone dust fell from his fur onto the throne. He was shedding on it, on the most valuable ceremonial object in the Galactic Council, and nobody was going to do anything about it. Chancellor Vormp oozed forward, his diplomatic training clearly warring with the bizarre situation unfolding before him. Commander Holloway, surely you can remove your creature from the Supreme Apex seat? I could try, I admitted. But here's the thing about cats. Once they've claimed a spot, it's theirs. I could pick him up, sure, but he'd just go back. Or he'd spend the rest of the summit plotting revenge. Trust me, you don't want to see what a vindictive cat can do to a space station's life support systems. They have a special talent for finding the most inconvenient places to express their displeasure. Are you saying, Zarn said slowly, that we are being held hostage by a 7-kilogram mammal? Hostage is such a strong word, I replied. I prefer to think of it as Mr. Whiskers making an executive decision about seating arrangements. Vormp's gelatinous form rippled in what I'd learned to recognize as deep thought. By the ancient protocols of the Apex Predator Showcase, the creature that claims the Supreme Apex seat and defends it successfully is declared the winner. He didn't defend it, Kretsch protested weakly. He simply sat there. You approached him with the intent to remove him, Vormp pointed out. He demonstrated his dominance through nonviolent means. You retreated. By definition, he defended his claim. The hall went silent, except for Mr. Whiskers' continued purring. This is ridiculous, Captain Zarn muttered, but his heart wasn't in it anymore. Chancellor Vormp's official diplomatic voice boomed through the hall, translated into a dozen languages simultaneously. By the authority vested in me as Summit Coordinator, I hereby declare the Terran specimen, designated Mr. Whiskers, the victor of this cycle's Apex Predator Showcase. May his reign be, comfortable. I tried not to smile. I really did, but I couldn't help it. Oh, and just so you know, I added casually, I have 6 more cats at home. Mr. Whiskers is actually the chill one. The others have much stronger personalities. Admiral Kretsch's antennae drooped so low they almost touched the floor. How does your species function? Very carefully, I said. And with a lot of lint rollers. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened approximately 40 minutes later, after Mr. Whiskers had finally woken up from his nap, stretched luxuriously across the Supreme Apex throne, and sauntered back to me for treats like he hadn't just upended millennia of galactic diplomatic tradition. I stood in the observation gallery, watching through the transparent aluminum as the council members debated frantically. Well, debated is generous. It was more like organized panic with parliamentary procedure. Chancellor Vormp was officiating, his gelatinous form pulsing with bureaucratic distress. We must establish new protocols immediately. The implications are staggering. Agreed. Admiral Kretsch clicked, his antennae still slightly drooped from his earlier defeat. I move that we classify Earth as a Level 5 hazard zone, subsection Predator domestication unclear. Seconded, Captain Zarn hissed. Any species that willingly cohabits with organisms that have psychologically compromised them represents an unpredictable variable in galactic affairs. The motion passed unanimously. I watched my homeworld's threat rating increase on the display and tried to feel bad about it. I failed. Vormp continued, his voice grave. Furthermore, I recommend we issue a council-wide advisory recommending extreme caution when engaging with humans who may be under feline influence. How do we determine which humans are compromised? Someone asked from the back. Assume all of them, Kretsch suggested darkly. The motion passed. Earth was now officially considered more dangerous because of our cats than because of our nuclear weapons, planet-cracking mining equipment, or tendency to engage in recreational extreme sports that would kill most other species. Honestly, fair assessment. My communicator buzzed. It was a text-only message from Admiral Torres back on Earth. Tell me you didn't actually bring Mr. Whiskers to the Apex Predator Showcase. I typed back. I absolutely brought Mr. Whiskers to the Apex Predator Showcase. 3 dots appeared, indicating she was typing. They continued for a long time. Then, you're either getting court-martialed or promoted. I haven't decided which. The council session was wrapping up. I collected Mr. Whiskers, who had spent the deliberations sleeping in his carrier like the chaos he'd created was none of his concern, which, to be fair, in his mind it probably wasn't. As I headed toward the docking bay, Captain Zarn intercepted me. His scales had returned to their normal color, and he seemed to have regained some composure. "Commander Holloway," he said formally, "I must ask, your species has domesticated other creatures as well, correct?" "Oh yeah," I said, shifting the carrier to my other hand. "Mr." Whiskers made a little chirp of protest at the movement. "Lots of them. These dogs you mentioned earlier, are they similar to the cats?" I paused, considering how to answer that. Similar in that they're predators we brought into our homes, yeah, but the relationship is completely different. Different how? Well, cats are with us because they chose to be. They're independent, aloof, and they barely tolerate our existence most of the time. We have to earn any affection they give us. I looked down at the carrier, where Mr. Whiskers was now grooming his paw with single-minded focus. Dogs, on the other hand, actually like us. They're loyal, enthusiastic. They live to make us happy. They love us unconditionally. Zarn's pupils narrowed. "And you find this less concerning?" "Oh no," I said, grinning. "It's way more concerning. See, we took wolves, pack hunters, apex predators in their own right, and we convinced them that humans are their pack. They protect us. They work with us. They'll die for us without hesitation. We created an animal that views human happiness as its primary life objective. That is," Zarn said slowly, "somehow more disturbing than the mind control parasite. Right? We weaponized loyalty. 14,000 years of selective breeding to create the perfect companion animal. They can detect our emotions, understand our gestures, read our facial expressions better than most sentient species can. They know when we're sad and try to comfort us. They know when we're threatened and put themselves between us and danger. And the scary part? They're really, really good at violence when they need to be." Zarn's tail twitched nervously. The species domesticated loyalty itself. Essentially, yeah. I should report this to the council. Probably, I agreed. But here's the thing. You know what we use these incredibly loyal, violence-capable pack hunters for? What? Mostly we dress them in silly outfits and throw birthday parties for them. We invented an entire industry of squeaky toys. We take them to parks so they can socialize with other dogs. We carry bags specifically to pick up their poop. The most dangerous thing most dogs do is accidentally knock over a toddler because they got too excited about seeing their favorite human come home. Captain Zarn stared at me for a long moment. "Your species is insane." "Yeah," I said cheerfully. "We really are. But we're friendly and sane, mostly. Just don't mess with our pets." I started walking again, but Zarn called after me. "Commander Holloway, one final question. Is there anything else we should know about Earth's domesticated creatures?" I thought about it. About the horses we'd convinced to carry us into battle. About the birds we'd trained to hunt for us. About the ferrets we'd domesticated because we thought they were cute, despite their ability to squeeze into ventilation systems. About the humans who kept spiders, snakes, and lizards as pets just because they liked them. "Nah," I said. "I think you've got enough to worry about." The trip back to my shuttle was uneventful. I loaded Mr. Whiskers into his secured travel compartment, programmed the navigation computer for Earth, and settled into the pilot's seat. About 10 minutes into the journey, Mr. Whiskers managed to escape his compartment because of course he did. The latches were only designed to hold aggressive cargo, not determined cats, and jumped up onto the console. My coffee was sitting there. Fresh. Hot. Exactly where I'd left it. Mr. Whiskers looked at me, looked at the coffee, looked back at me. "Don't you dare," I warned. He maintained eye contact as he slowly, deliberately, extended one paw and pushed the cup toward the edge. "Mr. Whiskers, I swear." The cup tipped over. Coffee spilled across the console, pooling around the navigation controls. Nothing critical, but annoying enough to require cleanup. Mr. Whiskers sat back, looking pleased with himself, and began washing his face. I sighed, reaching for the cleaning supplies. "You know what? The council was right. We are compromised. And the worst part is, I'm still going to feed you when we get home." He purred. "Yeah, we never stood a chance."